Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final series of the summer regular season here at the EU LCS. It's me, it's Vedius, Drakos. We're hanging out. H2K just dominated in Game 1, and we are excited to see what Unicorns of Love can show us as we move towards Game 2. Because once again, this may not mean much for the standings, but for Unicorns of Love, you kind of want to show after the last few weeks, which have been incredibly rough, after the loss to Vitality, that you are still a top team, that you are still ready to smash some nerds when it comes to playoffs.
You really don't want your confidence to be hurt going into playoffs because in a best of 5, a lot of things change. Teams can prepare specifically for you. And when you look at Misfits, who too have not had the greatest last few weeks, you kind of want to end on a high. So Unicorns of Love, let's see how they shift things up because H2K, they're still on the blue side. They don't really need to change anything.
And Unicorns of Love, they opted for the red side. This is what their choice was. H2K got to pick in Game 1. So interesting to see that that has been the constant, but bans already changing, Vedius. The Janna has been taken off the table. H2K, though, they dominated Game 1. They don't have to look to change anything. They're happy with those first 3 bans.
Now, bear in mind, Kalista, Caitlyn, Zach, 2 of those 3 are guaranteed to be left open and available. And H2K are more than happy to take, at the very least, a Zach or a Caitlyn. So I think that they're already going to be happy with how the bans are taking place. Jankos is going to grab his Zach once again.
This feels wrong to me, Vedius. Leaving Zach open for Jankos here.
Did you hear? I believe it was a 63 KDA on Zach so far for Jankos, yet to be defeated on it.
And they're just going to take it. And I have to wonder what exactly Unicorns of Love are thinking here, because they were not able to execute in Game 1. Maybe they just think it was a small fumble. Maybe they just think they can change it coming into this game. I guess maybe they think the Janna was the biggest issue.
The big thing for me is I think they'll actually shift in the mid lane now. I think they'll put Exileh on something that can do a little bit more damage. They might even look to get themselves a very early Orianna or maybe an early Talia, some kind of early mid lane pick. And then they can ban away things like the Cassio, maybe ban away the Syndra. I think that they just need to put a little bit more priority on getting a bit more comfort in the mid lane for Exileh.
Looking at it now, though, H2K have adapted their draft despite the success they found in the previous game.
Tristana likely going to be the lock-in here for H2K. No reason to change anything up. Still a very safe AD carry, works in a bunch of different matchups. Compare very nicely with a variety of different supports.
Well, I don't think we'll see that one, but Tristana will come in as predicted. Now, Vedius, we've talked a lot about Gnar over the last couple of weeks in the top lane.
I don't get this draft, Drakos. They're literally picking exactly the same thing, but now their top lane's in even a worse
Yes,
matchup.
exactly. H2K, the only lane that they lost in was top lane. Yes, Odoamne made up for it in fights, but now H2K have 0 losing lanes so far. They do not have a single losing match.
Now Unicorns, they've added another shift into the bans. The Cassio has been taken off the board. So I guess they identified that Febiven was too good on that champion, and they thought that the Janna was causing too much disengage problems. But H2K can just replace the Janna with a Braum. They might even look to run a Trundle with all these tanks. Trundle used to be a really good answer to Poppy because of the number of passive stats that she gains too from her abilities, means that she becomes even less tanky when you put a Trundle into the mix. It will hurt the laning phase of H2K, but as Febiven and Chei have identified multiple times, they don't mind being put under pressure a little bit in the early game. They're happy and they are pretty confident in how they play that 2 versus 2.
And Vedius, I don't want to doubt the Unicorns of Love. They've proven, sometimes when you're skeptical of the drafts, that they have something to pull out here, but I'm really hoping to see a change-up in the second pick phase because it just didn't work, man. It did not work in Game 1, and I'm wondering, I'm sure that Sheepy has a plan, but until we see it in action, it's hard to have faith that this draft is the right choice for the Unicorns of Love.
So once again, focus on the middle lane. Kassadin, still available. Talon, still available too. The Trundle will actually be stolen away by the Unicorns of Love. Interesting, that's quite an interesting adaptation right there. It will mean that Exileh gets the counter pick in mid. Syndra is still available for H2K. I think that would be a very safe pick for Febiven. There is a slight risk against a lot of these tanks to dive on top of it, but I still think that overall Febiven has proved his confidence on the champion.
Syndra now coming in, not a mobile champion, which could be difficult against the Poppy, the Cho'gath, and the Trundle champions that are difficult. Of course, Nuclear packing a dash in his kit, so shouldn't struggle too much. However, the Pillar and the Steadfast Presence can interrupt the vast majority of engage options. And H2K looks like they were pretty happy with the Ardent Sensor support that they had last time in the form of Janna, and they want to rinse and repeat that. Confidence in what I think we can safely say is a overpowered support item.
The thing is, against a Tristana and a Karma, Trundle really is not that strong. You are not going to have a powerful 2 versus 2 with Kalista Trundle because there's a lot of ways to just get away from any pillar that Trundle throws up. You have the jump, you have the bonus movement speed from the Shield of Karma. I feel like, yes, you take the Trundle away from Chei, but you're going to hurt your own laning phase as a result. And again, because it's Kalista, maybe with an Ardent Sensor support, depending on something that we have seen recently from Trundles, is a little reliant on getting that early lead. But this time around, we will see Exileh on a comfort pick. We know this guy has had mixed performances on Vladimir during the laning phase, but he always seems to have those good team fights.
It's definitely the case. We saw it against TSM at Rift Rivals. Yes, he struggled early on, but when it came to team fighting later in the game,
we saw it against H2K too. Remember the Twitch, the Vlad, all that against the Baron where they just ripped through H2K in that pivotal fight. He's definitely had those game-changing ultimates, game-changing plays. But we'll have to see because UOL, they really don't have a huge amount of hard CC in their composition. They're going to rely very heavily on getting these flanks, finding these picks, and the low mobility champion is that Syndra. So maybe if they can lock her down, but then you're going to have a Tristana on the backline who you still have to deal with.
You guys know what to do. Vote at Twitter, hashtag H2K win, hashtag UOL win. This could be your last chance if H2K can close it out. But Unicorns of Love here in game 2. Slight changes to the composition. More comfort picks coming in. Cho'gath again for Vizicsacsi. Now the Vladimir in the mid lane for Exileh. But will it be enough for Unicorns of Love to find a win, or can H2K take their first victory over the Unicorns of Love in 2017?
H2K undefeated when Jankos plays Zac. That's terrifying, man. Not only is Zac a really strong champion, when you have a dude who's really good at it too, that just, I don't know. I think it's super dangerous. As Medic says, Jankos has the best Zac stats of anyone in the league. He's only died once in 6 games and has a whopping 79 KDA. 79! That's a really big number, Drakos.
Yes, thank you!
You didn't look surprised on your face.
See, I'm not even surprised at this point because I got the numbers in front of me too, and I'm surprised that he gets to play it again, Vedius. And you know what? I'm going to suspend the disbelief. I'm going to believe that Unicorns of Love can execute this composition this time. Because they picked it again, right? And you have to trust that a top team in Europe will know what they did wrong and can adjust on the fly.
So the thing we have to identify here is that both teams, once again, drafting team fight. H2K, you could argue, a little weaker compared to before because they replaced the Gnar with the Maokai, who doesn't have the same sort of follow-up engage as a Maokai ulti, but Gnar ulti still, you have a lot of team fight value. And with the Karma, still has a fair amount of team fight value, but still not as strong, arguably, as the Janna in terms of appeal and disengage. So still strong team fighting comp. And for Unicorns of Love, exactly the same, except they're a little reliant on getting an early lead because of Samux playing this Kalista.
Interesting, we're going to have to see. Last game we talked about the priority needing to go onto the bottom side. That was the anti-Kalista lane. Things a little bit different with the Trundle. But Vedius, one thing coming out from Hylissang is the Bond of Stone. So in theory, we could see a Ardent Sensor Trundle on the bottom side of the map. But Hylissang taking a lot of damage. Of course, the best part about Trundle, I think, in laning phase as a support is that the passive does proc on every minion, so you will get a lot of that health back, but does his best to zone off the double-ranged lane. It just feels like a difficult fight for him at the moment.
Well, they're trading very impressively. They will get the early level 2.
Good to have Hylissang willing to sacrifice the life to get there, but now it has balanced out. At the end of the day, it's pretty even, though, between Chei and Hylissang in terms of life. Now we have to keep our eyes on the pots. But moving in on the top side, this is an adaptation we did not necessarily see in game 1. Jankos will be spotted out in the jungle. Stretching strike. That's a min-maxing right there. Maximum efficiency.
Nice. But speaking of Jankos, this guy, he had a great game 1. He was really the front line You want to say sacrificial lamb, but he didn't die. He just utilized his passive extremely effectively and always found a way back into the fight. Now, Xerxe, he tried to make an early game play happen, but in game 1, he's going to try and make it happen again.
Chei now moving forward, hoping to ward for this play.
Nuclear
has been spotted out. Pillar comes in, not going to get a chance out. The Pillar makes terrain for Poppy to knock him in. Good damage comes in, and no tower dive failure this time. So just a positive advantage coming in for Unicorns of Love.
So a bit of pressure applied from the Unicorns in the bottom lane. Good start for them. Definitely the direction that you want to be heading in. Meanwhile, things also equalized around the map. We haven't talked much about top, but we don't have time.
Focus on the bottom side. Exhaust now burned onto Samux. So while the Tristana, the Karma, we may have expected them to be able to push out, it looks like the all-in threat from the Trundle and the Kalista may be enough, but eyes on mid lane. Pool comes out from Exileh, stretching strikes, not going to connect. Ghost used to throw Jankos off on the targeting. Still gets a summoner spell though, so just trades the summoners across the map, but a much more even early game than we saw last time.
Jankos making his pressure known in the middle lane, a thing that he is often known for. We talked a lot about how in the European LCS, it is both mid and jungle that seem to have the best in terms of synergy. Now, in the mid, no mana on Febi, so Exileh doesn't have to be too worried about losing his life.
Of course, one of the perks of Vladimir, right, is you can just trade and definitely has to sustain. Extended laning phases are always going to be good for him, but also once Lost Chapter comes in for Syndra, she's pretty set too.
She has the same sort of mana sustain that you have health sustain, so you have to be careful of that, especially around the level 6 mark. But once he has his pool, the kill threat of Syndra definitely mitigated. Now Jankos once again in the mid. You can see Hylissang also making that roam. The classic Hylissang move, after first bank, he always looks for somewhere to gank.
Now moving in. Unfortunately, Pillar not going to save him from the initial damage. Red buff procced, so Jankos just throwing down a bit of poke, contesting the vision that Hylissang's trying to clear.
Chei also moving with Jankos to help him in terms of vision. Exileh holding his own in the middle lane.
And it's very different from what we saw in game 1 where Febiven absolutely dominated. Of course, I feel like we've talked about Febiven a lot already this series, but we have to hit him again after the immaculate Cassio performance coming in game 1. He just felt like the crux for this team to find success on.
I mean, Febiven, you can just see his regular season performance has been impressive. There's been so much debate around who are the best teams in Europe. You know, Caps is definitely one that's been considered very regularly, but Febiven is someone that you can never really underrate. And just looking at some of his Cassio stats from game 1, 7-1-10 scoreline, 77% kill participation, and his damage rating was plus 38%. He was doing 38% more damage than the expected Cassio, so he's pretty good at the champion.
Definitely is the case, but Exileh, he smells the opportunity for a 1v1. Jankos not going to have the chance to line up the stretching strikes. And I have to say, for Unicorns of Love, to give Exileh a little bit more comfort in this mid lane seems like a good choice, because clearly we've identified Febiven for his carry potential, and now Unicorns of Love are giving him the same respect. And Exileh, he knows the Syndra Vladimir matchup. He's played this so many times over the course of the regular season.
But he is falling behind in the lane for now. In his defense, he's been pushing pretty hard. He's been trying to force over underneath the tower, and it has not been working out.
Pool burned. For the empowered Q for healing. Jankos is on the top side, though. Gnar into the wall. The silence just a little bit too late. Vizicsacsi going to try to flash to safety. Stretching strike. Connects him to the tower. Will they try to keep this one going? Mini Gnar, the extra sustained damage, but may lack the burst. Jankos could be in trouble. Does have the passive. Will get burned under the tower. Cho'gath may not have enough health to approach safely, though. Odoamne just going to protect his brother in arms here.
Xerxe now looking for a gank in mid as well. Zoning Febiven away from the tower. This will allow Exileh to close the CS gap just a tad. But good gank in the top lane for Jankos. Chachi, he played that as well as he could, but no summoner spells were used from the side of H2K. It will cost Jankos his passive, but in the grand scheme of things, definitely a favorable trade. So, impressive early game from H2K, but UOL, they're not conceding like they did in game 1.
Much more even this time around. The trades on the bot side continue to be quite aggressive, and Jankos just continues to be everywhere on this Zac pick. Fortunately, just lacks the damage to be a reliable threat to Exileh at this point in the game. And really, when we look at it, oh, look at that. That's a much more positive record for H2K. So this year has been bad, folks. We cannot lie. H2K has struggled against Unicorns of Love. They have gotten outplayed, but historically, this team's actually very close in how they've matched up over the years.
Yeah, it was great when we chatted to Prolly after the show yesterday, and I was like, oh, you're finally going to get revenge? And he was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get revenge, because before 2017, we beat UOL a lot, and everyone just seems to forget about that. And I was like, Prolly, That is so 2016. Can we get a little bit more modern? Can we get up to date? And he's like, yeah, okay, fine. We will try and rectify. And that's what they're looking to do, is they set up a defense here for Nuclear. Or maybe not.
Well, I wasn't sure, Vedius. He was slowly walking him down, but he's fine. Of course, we've talked about this matchup already between the Kalista and the Tristana, so early itemization probably in the favor of Samux when it comes to the Blade of the Rune King, but interestingly enough, Karma not immediately going for the Ardent Sensor, instead opting for the Spell Thieves, has the Sightstone as well, not trying to rush that for any kind of lane dominance.
Nuclear will probably give him a stern talking to afterwards. We saw the heated battle between Mythy and Jez's yesterday of who could get their Ardent Sensor first, and it was Jez's that won playing the Karma. But it seems like he will take an alternative path. He wants to give Hylissang a chance, perhaps. Delay the power spike of Nuclear.
All right. Enough Ardent Sensor. We did enough in solo queue. We don't need it competitive too. But bot lane continues to be interesting. I also really want to talk about top lane, because that was one of the biggest changes in the H2K draft outside of mid lane. It has been Odoamne now getting a much stronger matchup, and we can see the difference it has made for him. Of course, Chachi definitely #1 in a lot of those stats.
Statistically, Odo definitely doesn't look like one of the strongest players, but he has been playing a lot more for the team, and he's also been one of the shining stars. You can't forget his Camille game against Misfits, where he was able to turn it around, get that quadra kill. He has been a very big impact, and he's been a large part as to why H2K have found such great success. And he's also another member of the team that you can always rely on to succeed. And bear in mind, he died 1v1 against the Cho'gath last game, I will admit that. But I feel like overall, he contributes a lot more outside of the lane.
And to be fair, one of the stats where he is beating Vizicsacsi, or I guess losing, depending on how you look at it, is isolated deaths per game. Vizicsacsi, he plays that more aggressive, more in-your-face kind of style, and it comes with its risks, and that is that he dies on his own a little bit more than is expected. In fact, the most in the, or the second most. Febiven now running, Exile doing what he can, but not going to be enough damage to kill him. Just wants to start to pressure him out of lane. Once again, no mana. No reason to be hesitant on just burning those cooldowns.
But Febiven, he's holding his own in this laning phase for the time being. 83 CS to 79, Xerxe has been found.
Let's bounce, pulls him out. And moving for a little bit more. Febiven on the side. Hylissang throws at the pillar. Not going to trap Febiven in, though. Chei is here as well. Snare lands. Xerxe just flash to safety, so it will not connect in the end. And Exile's hunted for blood. Looking to take down Febiven. Can he get it? This could be a big moment for the Unicorns of Love. Oh. No, Karma coming in to save the day. Looks like he can still grab it in. And the flash! The heal from Nuclear! What is this team play?
Chei, that was unbelievable! Now we see it 1v1 up in the top lane.
Oh, Odoamne looking for a little bit of revenge, trying to fire back. We'll see if he can get it. Starting to knock down on the turret. I can't even, after that play, Vedius.
Odo, he's now in trouble. Here comes Hylissang.
Gonna use the ultimate to make sure he's as squishy as possible. Looking to donate the kill over to Xerxe. That's the pickup back in response. Unicorns of Love not gonna give up anything else.
Add another isolated death to the counter, Odoamne. I try to praise you. I try to say you're one of the consistent, reliable top laners, and then you go and die. A little unfortunate there for H2K, but Chei, woo, what an AD carry. Unbelievable play
Nuclear.
In the middle lane. Nuclear, my apologies. My apologies. I was just looking at Chei and I was like, my God, what a player as well. Both players been performing exceptionally well in the last few weeks. A lot of question marks as well around.
And that's part of the reason why I think when you hear Deficio get hyped about H2K, you can't really doubt it, is because everyone feels like they're playing well on the side of H2K, whereas in the past it's like there always feels like one player might be underperforming, might be struggling a little bit. Everyone seems to be on point. And unfortunately, Exile, if this was a 1v1, he would have found that kill.
He would have found that kill. But the teamwork
all of H2K showed up just to keep Febiven alive.
My words. I feel like the replay is taking a while because we're going to have some fancy graphics. A cool slow-mo of Nuclear.
Slow pan.
And that's the music that'll come in when
we'll always love you.
And so watch, here we go. Febiven, he's losing out on this 1 versus 1, right? Exile, he has a huge amount of damage. He has the bonus damage from his Q as well. Febi flashes over the wall. Now, keep your eyes on Nuclear coming in from the flank. The clutch shield here from Chei. You think the moment he comes out of pool, he's going to die. No, flash, heal, just enough, along with the knockback as well. beautiful. No, I will always love you, but they do keep their mid laner alive. I apologize to the audience for singing that.
I mean, I joined in. They can hate us both if they want to. It was appropriate given the context. That was so fantastic from H2K. But Unicorns Love also getting a kill back. So Vedius, unlike the previous game, these teams are trading blows much more effectively. The difference this time around, however, is that H2K have gotten that tower, and at 13 minutes, it's a pretty decent gold lead. And Xerxe not being behind this time around means he can go toe-to-toe a little bit better, but Chei now in trouble. Nuclear on the way. Looks like a TP on the backside from Odoamne. Gnar coming in. Exileh and Xerxe not near the fight. Leap over. Third stack on the Hyper. He's getting faster and faster. The flash forward. The Gnar into the wall. That's going to be the pick. Nuclear grabs the kill.
H2K, they're being proactive. They're looking for opportunities, and now Exileh is the next target.
He does use the Ghost. A little bit of poke comes out, but H2K have their sights set on the mid lane tower. It's going to take a lot from Unicorns Love to defend this, but against a Tristana may not be an option. Jankos flashing out, just trying to take down Exileh onto the tower. But H2K starting to grow that gold lead. It may not have come from kills this time around, but the tower lead definitely in their favor.
Love seeing these plays from H2K. Notice how the TP will be just out of vision from the Unicorns. They do not see Odo coming from over the wall. Hylissang, he holds on to his flash, but Gnar is just about to be ready. And then Hylissang, he is left for dead. Little that the Unicorns of Love can do as Samux, he's already used his ulti. H2K grouping up as a 5-man unit so regularly, trying to make plays happen, trying to take advantage of this early game.
This is exactly what the damage graph tells us, because there are 2 zeros on the side of Unicorns of Love. And that's not that they didn't output damage, that they didn't play the team fight well. They just were not there. Whereas all 5 members of H2K were showing up, were making an impact in this play as a team.
And there's one thing that you can always say about H2K, and is that if they have a lead at 15 minutes, my God, do they know what to do with it. Because as you can see on the stats here, when H2K have a lead, they win 94% of the time at 20 minutes. So there's still 5 minutes left for Unicorns of Love to claw that lead back. There's still 5 minutes left.
But that's the thing is, look at Unicorns of Love too, Vedius.
Exactly.
You can't count them out. Yes, 94% for H2K, but as long as we're looking at the numbers, Unicorns of Love in deficits win 50% of their games.
And that's the key thing here. Unicorns are so used to playing from behind that they always find avenues back into the game. And that was how they were able to get that impressive best-of-3 win earlier on in the split.
Knockup does land. Nuclear now in trouble. There's really no chances to get out of this one. He's just going to get nommed up. Vizicsacsi grabbing a kill, but it's traded for the tower. Not necessarily what Unicorns of Love want, but if they can take down Jankos here, it may be enough. He's just going to wait for his death, however. Passive going to get burned as well. Unfortunate, but he knows the second he charges the E, the Trundle pillar comes up, denies the escape, and he just has to accept that one.
So, a few misplays here from H2K. Unicorns, they capitalize, they find a few kills to help them get back onto the board. Close that gold gap ever so slightly. They'll be able to get that top tier 1, but they lost that top tier 1 in exchange. It's Exileh now to 2v1.
And Exileh is fearless as he pushes in once again. Throws down a bit of blood. Let's keep this one going. Power Q not going to come out here, but Vedius, we look at the mid lane. We talked about Febiven. Yes, he's on this Syndra. Yes, if he gets ahead, he can start deleting people, but Exileh in team fights on this Vladimir is a monster. Sadly, he has not itemized any armor, so Gnar definitely can still take him out.
And also, Exileh hasn't fallen that far behind in the laning phase. Yes, he fell behind in terms of farm, but he hasn't died in that 1v1, which is great for Exileh. Growth compared to what we saw earlier.
And also,
on
Vladimir, not really, a massive early game champion.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't tried to be in the path. Let's not forget how many times we've had to slow-mo break down 1v1s between him and a Syndra where he thought he had enough damage and then he ends up losing his life. He didn't make any of those gambles today. He's played the slow, calm, collective style. He is gearing more towards those team fights, and Kalista has completed Blade of the Ruin King. So even though Unicorns are at a deficit, their composition overall is in a much better position for fighting. And that's the exciting thing. Unicorns, this is where they thrive. 20 minutes. That's where they always have that big gold spike. That's where they always find those fantastic team fights. So Unicorns, I'm still hopeful that they can find avenues back into the game. And H2K, I'm excited to see how they can challenge it, because right now they still have the lead, they have a strong team fighting composition, and they're ready to challenge the Unicorns.
Exileh, we get Link Minion pulled back. Pool should be up and available. Protobell to safety before pooling out. If they're going to lead forward, they're looking to get aggressive. not quite enough. Healing comes in from Exileh to save the day. And Vedius, I feel like we praised so much H2K team fighting in the last game, but we have to remember they spent most of the game with the lead because of, well, one, effective plays on their side, and two, some mistakes, some over-aggressive moments from Unicorns of Love, and can they perform as well when they don't have quite as significant of a lead?
Well, I'm curious as to how Unicorns even force a lot of these fights because they don't have a huge amount of hard crowd control, and you can just see every time they try to run at the enemy.
Oh, Xerxe.
That happens. You can't just run face first into this H2K team. They have a Karma. They have the disengage from the Tristana. They also have the Syndra poised and ready to land that stun in your face and just nuke you down. So UOL, they are so reliant on getting this deep vision and finding flanks. And you can see one little ward just near this mid-tier 1 tower that could be used as a flanking opportunity. But besides that, H2K, they're the ones that control the vision. They're the ones that have all these walls littered around the Rift Herald area for now, along with some of the entrances to UOL's jungle.
Oh, now little mini Gnar trying to make it out. Vizicsacsi trying to run him down. Hop finally comes in, but does have to flash over. Well played by Vizicsacsi, knowing his strength in this 1v1, and no frozen mallet means that Gnar is still going to struggle. Now, however, Unicorns of Love firing back with an objective of their own. Only 1 tower to 4. Remember that. That is the majority of the gold lead present for H2K. And with this Rift Herald, it almost guarantees Unicorns of Love to get a tower of their own in exchange.
Much closer game as we approach the 10-minute mark. You got to remember the stat, though. When H2K have a lead at 20, 94% is their win rate.
20 seconds, Vedius.
Can Unicorns of Love get 2,500 gold in 15 seconds?
Bated breath. See 100. See a disengage. I see an engage on Febiven. That could start it. TP does come into the mid lane. We're about to hit 20 minutes. Will the fight kick off? Vedius, 3 seconds. 2, 1.
There it is.
It's doomed, Vedius. There's no coming back.
No, there's 6% chance the Unicorns of Love can turn this one around.
No, there's a 50% chance for you. This is the problem with those stats.
That's true, yes. 50% chance, Unicorns of Love. Which stat will thrive?
Here we go. Out. Odoamne leaping forward.
Oh.
But equally difficult. Nice Gnar to try to disengage. It's going to get knocked up. Exileh, nothing to attach him to with the stretching strikes, but Nuclear just uncontested as he starts to dish out the damage. Ardent Sensor coming in as well a little bit later than we would have liked to see, but it looks like it could be matched on the opposite side by Hylissang.
We talked a little bit about it. He has the mastery. He can proc that Ardent Sensor. And he will be providing a lot of additional stats through this Kalista as well. And that's what I really like when you go Ardent Sensor with the Kalista too, because while you do consider her to be like an early game, mid-game focused AD carry, she has a lot of value when paired up with that as well. So Odo, he now wants to get a bit of revenge.
Vizicsacsi trying to disengage Righteous Glory to slow it down. Now Gnar, a lot of burst damage, but really bad for chasing champions. Does not have the reliable hyper proc, the boomerang to slow anything down, and of course, melee champions just a little bit harder to get into the effective range. But Jankos will profit off of that exchange with the Cloud Drake for H2K.
First Drake of the game at 21.5 minutes. No real focus on that. Instead, H2K have prioritized taking down the Dragons. They're going to continue to extend their gold lead. CS still heavily in their favor. Luden's Echo now completed for Febiven too. So itemization looking good across the board for H2K. They have the gold lead, they have map control. Baron's going to start becoming a point of contention between the two teams. But the Unicorns can't count them out with this composition. Looks like Exileh, he's going to go for Banshee's Veil in second. Once that locket is completed for Xerxe too, that's going to mitigate a lot of the burst from Febiven that he can throw out in these next few fights. And Samux, he's working towards that Runaan's Hurricane. They need to buy a little bit more time, which they should be able to do using this Rift Herald in mid.
3 members strong in the mid lane, looks like potentially 4. 4 going to be there. Gnar a little far away. Rift Herald going to come in, smack onto the tower. Unicorns Love trying to get the setup. That is going to be 1 knocked down. Exileh hungry to keep the trades going, but Ardent Sensor keeping Nuclear healing up at this point. Exileh moving forward. Jankos knocked back the team. Let's bounce forth, making them immune to CC. Xerxe. Multi-man knock-up lead forward from Exileh. Vizicsacsi wants a little bit more. At least 1 member is going to go down. There's the pool. There is the exhaust. Unicorns of Love. But we're going to start a fight on their terms. Mini Gnar dishing out what little bit of poke damage he can, but there's no burst. Odoamne down! down! Samux and the Unicorns of Love find their opening.
Classic Unicorns of Love. 22 minutes into the game. They don't even have their second items completed, but they see an opportunity. Xerxe gets brought into the team. They feel confident with the knockups and the damage from Exileh and Chachi that they can go for the fight, win it, and turn that into a Baron. That 50% chance of coming back from when behind is looking good right now for the Unicorns.
Uncontested on the Baron, a Kalista to back it up. So confident in the abilities of his AD carries that Xerxe smites a little bit early just for the burst damage. Samux going to secure that one in the end, and Vedius.
The gold is even, Drakos. The gold is even. So let's see, Unicorns, they grouped up mid to take down that tier 1. Jankos goes in, and a really good pillar there from Hylissang to force Jankos into using his ulti. Now Xerxe's on the front line. He gets a massive shield, and the immediate follow-up from Chachi and Exileh. A beautiful silence onto Nuclear means that he cannot jump away. He cannot flash either. He gets shut down. Odo gets pillared up with another great knockup, and the chain CC that's coming out from the Unicorns is fantastic. I said that their engage is not the strongest, but their counter engage, punishing when H2K cannot find the optimal fight, seems to be fantastic.
And while it may be difficult for them to find it, when they do find it, it is insane. The Keeper's Verdict into the silence, no chance to get out. It just reminds me of the Cassio from last game with that miasma, where the members of Unicorns of Love had no options. It's a similar state now, it feels like, for H2K.
And we criticized the draft from the Unicorns. Can they really run the risk of going for this same kind of style with the Poppy in the jungle, the Cho'gath top? Jankos on this Zac. KDA before this game, 79, current KDA. Oh, because he's died again.
Vedius, that's a much smaller number.
That is a smaller number. It's almost half.
It's still insane.
It's still pretty big.
But of course, a much more contested game. However, Jankos at this stage of the game with Unicorns of Love, I don't think he's worried about his Zac KDA anymore. I think he's worried about closing this out with a 2-0 if he can. Because Unicorns of Love, this is the Unicorns of Love people want to see when you talk about this team. The team fighting, Exileh, such consistent performances on this Vlad once he makes it out of the laning phase, and now that we're dead on even, it's anyone's to take, Vedius.
Ooh, but that Unicorn squad, the team fighting, it's something that just seems to be so strong when Exileh is on Vladimir. Interrupt again onto Jankos. Here goes Exileh.
This pillar goes forward. Decent amount of MR coming out, though. Not a lot of pen coming in yet from Exileh. Banshee's Veil or the Leandries coming soon in terms of itemization. Odoamne going to do what he can to hold the mid lane. H2K not looking to give up any more towers. Only one creep wave pushing in right now for Unicorns of Love. H2K have enough wave clear to clear it. So it looks like Unicorns of Love may not get as much out of this Baron as they would have liked. No Baron or no Dragon up and available, so nothing to take there, and only a minute left on the buff.
Now remember, H2K, they still have a good scaling composition. Tristana scales exceptionally well into the late game. Syndra will have a bit of a rough time if she ever lands a stun. Samux is dead. Locket of the Alliance Solari will help, but there is so much damage between both Febi and Nuclear, along with Odo being able to get a follow-up ulti too. There's a lot of threat that UOL have to take into consideration. It's all about who gets that optimal fight.
See it? So they're trying to contest the tower dive. Jankos could be in trouble. Passive will be utilized. KDA could get a little bit worse, but TP in. Odoamne going to save it. I don't know if that's the right choice, though. Now they have to back off. Jankos trying to make it to safety, but that is the pick Unicorns of Love we're looking for. Now it is the 5v4 as they pressure in on the top side. Febiven doing what he can to disengage, but the Keeper's Verdict is gone. They have Nuclear, they have Febiven. The wave clear is enough.
And remember what we said, it's all about trying to find that good fight. In H2K, they engaged a little bit haphazardly. Jankos went in first, Odo's Mega Gnar wasn't ready. Nuclear, I don't even think was that close to the rest of his team. And the Unicorns of Love just immediately sprung onto Jankos. This silence from Chachi is doing so much work, because it means that once you go in, you cannot go out. You cannot use your abilities. So UOL, they're playing these fights superbly.
So much value from the CC and the utility here.
So here, look, the positioning of Nuclear, he's nowhere near the fight. You cannot engage if you do not have one of your primary damage dealers. They thought they could buy time, but UOL, they just focus down the tower and they know we can go for Jankos afterwards.
And you have to wonder, the TP burned there. Was it the right call? Using the TP, not even saving the life of Jankos. And you see in the last fight, I mean, this is pretty much just damage traded. Yes, Unicorns of Love looked like they dealt less damage, but they are the ones able to grab the kill.
Level 16 Vizicsacsi to now level 15 Odo. This front line for the Unicorns of Love is so much stronger. And they're well on their way to delivering Jankos his first loss on Zach. People said they were crazy, Drakos, me included. But they are silencing the doubters. They are challenging conventions. Convention, that word. And they are rewriting the scriptures.
And Cho'gath now coming in at 8 stacks, very close to maximum size, going to need 2 more, but only gets scarier. Vorpal spikes only going to get bigger, making it easy to dish out that consistent team fight damage. And we're approaching the point in the game where single team fights can decide it. Whoever wins the next fight over Baron could break open the base. A full-on 5v5 could result in a Nexus being taken down. 28 minutes, the stakes continue to raise, but it's Unicorns of Love with the gold lead. Unicorns of Love with the advantage after suffering so much in the early to mid game. Now firing back here, the Baron of their own.
H2K, though, they continue to stall. Their wave clear is pretty good. They're controlling the side waves. They're just buying time, but they know that they're going to have to fight Unicorns of Love around that Baron area. UOL, they're happy to buy time. They're looking to continue their control over the vision. Once H2K come to them, that's when Unicorns can say, ooh, what you gonna do now? How do you challenge us?
Vedius, I love your theoretical player dialogues.
Yeah, that's what I imagine, because that's what I say.
Yeah,
what you gonna do now?
Like, that's the thing, is people hear you on air and they're like, you know, he's pretty calm, he's pretty relaxed, sometimes he gets a little weird, but they don't understand how much trash you talk when you play League of Legends. You are the most offensive person I have ever. Not in game, not in game, he's not toxic, but he's a little toxic.
I talk a lot of smack.
You talk a lot of smack. There you go. Now, oh, the flank. Nice disengage. Vizicsacsi gonna look to get a little bit more. Can he keep this going? Jankos wants to just knock him back out of the fight. Good plays coming in from Jankos, but it's not gonna stop Exileh from getting onto the back line. The disengage coming out from H2K. They take down Odoamne, but they haven't gotten to anyone else. Unicorns of Love in control. Is this going to be the pick that lets them break open the base?
Exileh is just running behind the towers with Hylissang. They feel good. They feel strong. One of the big frontliners is down for H2K. Baron spawning in 10 seconds, but Odo, his TP is available. Let's see. Do H2K want to try and contest this, or are they just going to leave it to the Unicorn?
Let's take stock. Kalista has the Ren. The Smite is available for the Poppy. No feast for the Cho'gath. They can take it down with the Mountain Drake backing them up, but it won't be quite as quickly as they need it to be because Jankos is alive and well. Hylissang doing what he can to disengage, but Xerxe has the steadfast presence. He has ways to deny him into the pit. H2K, maybe they can't get the Baron, but maybe they can take the fight. The side step moving forward. Baron dropping for the Unicorns of Love. H2K backing off. Are they going to keep the fight going? Jankos leaping forward. Steadfast presence to block him out. The counter engage you talked about, Vedius. Unicorns of Love are not giving H2K an inch.
Oh, beautiful response from the Unicorns of Love. Chachi with the silence, the pillar there from Trundle, and this is the fight that happened earlier on to allow them to take it. So Chachi, the deep vision coming out, allowed him to get the flank. He gets a knockup onto Jankos, but then he lands the crucial silence onto both Febi and Chei. And again, the crucial thing here is Nuclear still is not in the beginning of the fight because it goes on Unicorn's terms. With the pick available to them, they get the kill, they translate that into the Baron, and then the use of silences, the use of pillars, the tools that they built to try and stop this deck from engaging, you can now see it all come together and how the Unicorns are making it work so fantastically.
Absolutely. Now a 6K gold lead backing them up as they take their 5th tower of the game. They look to take their first inhibitor here, but it's still a tough road. Tristana at level 14, a lot of additional range. Decent wave clear coming in across the board for H2K, even in the face of that Baron buff. For one volley, one keeper's verdict could change everything. They are going to knock Odoamne out. Left bounce comes in, but it may not be the right timing. Jankos will look for the auto attack to connect. Not enough time on the stretching strikes. Both teams ready to fight at a moment's notice.
But Unicorns of Love, they need a pick to get close enough to that tower. Samux is so wary of Febiven landing a stun onto him. The possible risk of him losing his life is not something that he wants to commit to, so they have to continue playing slow.
And Vedius, you can see in the itemization, in the Hex Drinker, in the Phantom Dancer, very clearly he is aware of what will happen if Syndra gets into that 1v1 scenario.
So now, Unicorns, they're moving to the bottom side of the map. They're forcing H2K to come with it. Much easier to force a play with Odo in a bad position.
Moves to safety, Pillar not going to interrupt, Rupture not going to connect. Once again, Unicorns of Love just rotating between each of the lanes, contesting with every major wave. does land. No follow-up in the end, however. Unicorns of Love cannot break into the base, cannot force a fight under the tower. They do not have a big enough lead. They do not feel confident to get too greedy here.
Yeah, the wave clear is still very strong for H2K. They're going to meet the wave in top before it gets to the tower, so Unicorns can't take advantage of it. Unicorns will just walk away with the gold for now. They'll go back, spend some of it, but the base still defended by H2K. They held the line for now. Their late game is still reliant on that of Nuclear, working towards his 4th item. I believe it'll be the Mortal Reminder to try and mitigate some of the self-healing coming out from Chei and Hylissang and the Vladimir too. That's a good target to get those deep wounds on.
Ah, yes, the guy entirely based around healing.
Yes.
It's important to mitigate that. Well, completely agree. Mortal Reminder will be completed as predicted. And Vedius, you know, Gnar, we talk about this pick all the time. It feels like it offers a little bit of everything. It's got the teamfight presence, the crazy potential to CC multiple members. But when you look at the members on the side of UOL that need to be locked down, Kalista, very easy to dodge, very easy to outmaneuver. And Vladimir, I mean, you just push W, right? And none of that is going to go through. And now with the Zhonya's as well, it feels like that dream teamfight scenario where Gnar has more value than Cho'gath may not be quite as realistic as it once was.
And you can just see the difference on Exileh when he plays that comfort pick. He's in a 1v3 right now. Let's see if he loses life.
Forward does throw out the ultimate. So much damage going on to Nuclear. The shielding comes in. Defiance from Chei. The team healthy, but no summoner spells traded on the opposite side, so just a ghost giving up. Now Odoamne, though, the one moving forward, looks like he wants to start a fight. Keeper's Verdict will be dodged. Gnar on the way. Odoamne not going to be able to stop the transformation, but Vizicsacsi's pushing in on the bottom side. Unicorns of Love, the rest of the members at least, are turning their attention to the top. For now, H2K just so content to keep this going. Nard back into the tower. All not going to come out. Vizicsacsi has so much max health damage.
Oh my god.
Odoamne just barely tickling him. Rupture does come in. Jankos hoping to get this one. The rest of the Unicorns of Love are split up. If they can take down Vizicsacsi here, it could be big. They are just going to force him back. Happy to get just the flash. Not looking to push for anything more. But now 3 members could be uncontested on the top side. There is no Baron buff to back them up, though. A nice scatter of the week from Febiven will stop them from approaching the tower. H2K small advantages, but they have to be careful. They cannot afford to overextend. There goes the ult. Locket gonna keep him safe, but the stun Odoamne's moving in. Ooh, oh my god! From the escape, now Exileh moving forward. The pool has come out. This could be the biggest fight for the game. Nuclear untouched. Exileh in trouble. Unicorns backing off, and he's just gonna drop.
Wow. Tense series of events right there. A lot of small skirmishes leading to one big fight in the top lane that could have been massive for H2K, but amazing mechanics there from Xerxe, being able to escape with his life. Exileh thinks, oh, we can turn around, go for the fight. Didn't have his ulti available. See, now it is up and ready, but in that exchange, if he'd been able to get his health back, maybe could have swung. But the locket, along with the, was it the wards? Or does he, he gets vision from Hylissang that allows him to go over and smite it. Great setup. And Exileh, he sees the TP coming in. He also knows that he has the empowered Q. He thinks, I can go for this. Unfortunately, he misreads the situation and gives away his life. So they lose one member, but UOL, they still hold on to the gold lead. They're still yet to break into the base of H2K. That next Baron is going to be a necessity for them to close the game out.
And if that pick happened around Baron, that would have been disaster for Unicorns of Love. But luckily for them, the small mistake from Exileh, maybe the moment of over-aggression, or maybe him just getting caught, does not cost them much. In fact, they get the Cloud Drake, but the exchange is that H2K continue to hold on to their base. And Vedius, yes, this is a 5K gold lead, but I feel like these teams are just going to be about dead even. When it comes to these fights, it's going to be about who can out-execute.
To me, it's all about who gets the correct engage. UOL, they want to flank, or they want H2K to engage and miss that primary target. Because then they can go on the counter-engage. And that's where their composition is really strong with the Trundle pillar, with the Kalista mobility, with the Poppy knockback too. There are a lot of options available to them, but H2K, if they can just start that great fight, if Jankos can get onto, say, Samux and bring him back into his team, Odoamne with a big multi-man ulti. The Tristana damage is real. The Febi damage is real. It's just about who can get the optimal start. And so far, Unicorns of Love have been the ones to always punish the failed engages from H2K. But that doesn't mean that H2K cannot get that fight that will win them the game.
Vizicsacsi running forward. Force of Will just trying to push him back for now. Randuin's Omen, Righteous Glory. If Vizicsacsi gets in, there's no getting him out of that fight. And there's no getting away either. A lot of slow options. For Unicorns of Love, it always starts and ends in the mid lane, so it feels fitting here that they're willing to fight what could be a final fight. Face of H2K, Vizicsacsi moving forward. Odoamne stunned up in silence. He will get Mega Gnar momentarily. He's not going to connect with the ultimate. That could be massive for the Unicorns of Love. Big miss. Rupture connects. Looking for the disengage as Exileh gets pushed out of the fight. Jankos trying to run as well. Momentum in the favor of Unicorns of Love. Hylissang thrown back into the fight. Exileh untouched. Unicorns of Love. A beautiful fight. A startling engage. And that's going to be yet another Baron in their favor, but they've had enough of the purple worm. It's the base that's in their sights.
It was Prawley who said Unicorns of Love, they're not exceptional at team fighting, but the Unicorns say, nay, yes, we are. Once again, they win the fight. Once again, they punish the misplays from H2K, and they're looking to take us to a game 3.
We called it insanity when they tried the same comp, but this time things were different. This time, Unicorns of Love executed beautifully, and now Vedius, I can't believe it. After that game 1, Unicorns of Love are turning it around. H2K hoping to hold on to the Nexus. They might actually be able to do it. Samux hitting it for free, but no, Unicorns of Love, they're taking us to a game 3.
Whenever you doubt, whenever you don't believe, that is when the Unicorns show you their magic. They fell into an early deficit. The 94% win rate went ahead for H2K. Could not match the 50% win rate of the Unicorns.
And now it gets a little smaller, and the Unicorns' win rate and the deficit gets a little bigger, and it gets a little harder every time. And for H2K, I don't even know what to say. It was so good for so much of the game, but Vizicsacsi with the TP flanks, always coming in at the side of the fight. The ruptures so many times hitting the Gnar in mid-flight. The little Yordle trying to leap to safety, knocked up, and then immediately taken out of these exchanges.
And in that final fight, there were just so many misplays from H2K. The fact that the Gnar ult missed, the Zac ult didn't really hit anyone. Febiven, he was on the flank. He could have had a huge multi-man stun and maybe even saved some of his team's life, but he failed it. He misplayed that ulti, and there were just so many small things that went wrong for H2K. I feel like they just collapsed under the pressure. They were like, oh no, it's happening again. We lost a few early fights, and now there's nothing we can do. And I think even though Exileh, he went 0-2-7, you got to ban that. Take him off it. Clearly, the difference between his Galio and his Vlad,
I mean, come on, let's
just so
Let's
huge.
go to the damage. Let's go to the damage. Come on, because like, yes, 0-2-7 is not the score line that you want to see from your mid laner, but you look at the Vladimir damage output.
25,000. He was efficient with his damage. That's what he was.
He was the biggest damage contributor on the team.
He was.
Right behind Vizicsacsi, or right ahead of Vizicsacsi. So Cho'gath, the Vladimir, Kalista, it looks like Unicorns of Love found something that works for them, and Unicorns of Love have now taken us to a game 3. Let's see what our analysts have to say about that win.
We concur. Obviously, that Vladimir is a huge influence, and it isn't necessarily about the damage output, but the influence in teamfights, which we will see later on. And when we look at the picks and bans, yes, there were a lot of similar elements on both sides, but that Vladimir just enabled Unicorns of Love to play differently. And Deficio had something to say about H2K specifically not building in enough late-game safety this time around. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think this time around, Unicorns had the better late game, which is what they've been using in the past to beat H2K. And the key thing for me in the draft, and this is obviously a little bit of hindsight, but also something maybe probably or should have looked at during the draft, is the Taliyah ban you guys see down in the left corner. I think that was a mistake from H2K because it meant they were lacking a safe, blind, pickable mid laner that is not Syndra. Because when you pick Syndra against Exileh, he goes Vladimir every single time. And we know that he will suffer a little bit in the laning phase, but then he'll be much stronger than you in team fights. And that's what Unicorns use to win late game fights. So I think actually H2K should have left the Taliyah open. Had it been blind picked by Exileh, which would have been surprising, but let's say he did blind pick it, you can still pick the Syndra against it, and you have a fine matchup where you're not that afraid of Exileh's late game. But this actually pigeonholed H2K into the Syndra, meaning that Exileh could get his comfort pick, and we know he can only really perform on the comfort picks, like the Vladimir, LeBlanc, and Talon as the ones. So that actually allowed him to look really good.
that it did was really good for them, and especially the team fights, and H2K didn't manage to build up a similar lead as they did in game 1. So let's take a look, Strauss, at some of the team fights and why exactly Exileh specifically is so good for Unicorns of Love.
So when you look at Jankos going in here, this is what he was doing all the time in game 1, going aggressive, looking in for the fight, but the problem is Xerxe this time is actually able to have the impact in team fights, and the amount of damage that comes onto Nuclear actually puts the fear in him for later on. He doesn't want to be anywhere near the team fights the later this game goes. And this was the first real example of Unicorn saying, hey, we'll turn it back around with this Vlad going forward into the fight. And
consider this replay, and let's pretend it was game 1. There would have been no Vladimir going in with Vizicsacsi to kill Nuclear. It would have been a Galio going in with way less, damage. And it would have been Samux as a solo damage dealer sitting very far back, not actually able to kill the backline of H2K. So the change, the adaptation from Unicorns to get the Vladimir, who can actually deal damage and help Samux, so not be the only carry on the team, was a massive shift, allowed them to dive the backline and kill Nuclear or Febiven.
And because of how many fights there were like this in the mid lane, there were a few key ones. It actually meant Odoamne had used his TP a few select times, so he couldn't play the side lane. He couldn't do what Gnar wants to do at that later point in the game and say, okay, let me have some time and then I'll TP into fights, because Unicorns were like, no, we're just going to start the TP anyway ourselves, get you into a fight. And Odoamne didn't have the presence on the Gnar either.
Right, so he didn't have the presence to TP in, because I wanted to kind of travel back to what we said before the game or before the match, being that even in a situation where it comes to 5-on-5 team fights, we think that H2K has caught up and is in a good state. Was this just an instance of a game where, because of the way the game went, Odoamne couldn't TP in, they couldn't kind of decide the pace of the team fights, and they were far behind? Is that a forgiven factor for them in these team fights?
Well, I think the main reason they lose fights here is because the comp is weaker in team fights. So if both teams are roughly the same in terms of overall team fighting strength, whoever have the better fighting comp is obviously going to win. Like Karma in the late game is just an Ardent Sensor bot, nothing else. Obviously the Syndra in the late game versus Lockets and Hexstringers and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, frustrating. You're not going to kill anything. So I think Unicorns just had the superior late game. Obviously H2K should have been able to do more in the early to mid game with their draft, but that's where Unicorns actually had some really good plays and had some good answers, especially with Vizicsacsi.
Yes, very good team fights overall. We're going to take a look at a couple more of those, and I do want to kind of look forward also to the final game of the series, because the way we identify it is, well, the change of Vladimir coming in is really good for them. It mostly occurs when there is a Syndra on the other side, so the game plan should be easy for H2K, obviously. So in my book, that means we get a game like game 1 again, because we have seen that Exileh kind of pigeonholes on his comfort picks when he gets them.
Right, I would think so. I hope H2K will recognize that, but I also don't want them to do what H2K have done in days gone by. It may even have been the last time these two teams played, when they said, okay, we need late game, let's draft for late game, and they pick like a Victor, they pick like this heavy scaling composition and just got out team fought. And if that happens again, they have to get to this point in the game and have both Febiven and Nuclear online to out team fight the Unicorns of Love, and that has been the crux. I don't want to see them fall into the same pitfall another series.
They are in a situation where the 3 bans they'll be using first phase in blue side have been LeBlanc, Rakan, Thresh. There is some flexibility right there. There's some room for changes if they want to. Like, I think you can replace the Thresh ban with maybe a Cho'gath ban. If they are actually respecting Vizicsacsi on that champion. It's been 2 good games from him. Obviously, they want the Zac to be left open again. But the way Unicorns have been drafting, they ban Elise, and this time they ban Janna. They were left with Kate or Zac or Cho'gath as like the last ban for them. So I think if you just ban Cho'gath on your own, they have to decide between Kate or Zac. And you want both, obviously. If they leave both open, you're still fine taking a trade of you grabbing the Caitlyn, most likely for Nuclear. And there's still plenty of junglers to play.
Interesting. Also, because of all this, a lot of the teams have chosen to play a bit trolly today, but we are learning a decent amount about these two teams. Very interesting. I guess you guys are not changing your vote. Your H2K win is still both the anthem here.
I think they should.
Did we even vote in the first
we didn't vote.
I didn't ask you because you guys were so positive about H2K.
That was my vote, 2-1 H2K.
I'll hold my hands up. Yesterday I said 2-0 H2K.
I did
Got disappointed in game 2.
Right. Well, after fighting all season long, H2K and the Unicorns of Love are gearing up for one last battle to settle the score. The final game of the summer split is coming up in just a couple of minutes. Don't miss it.
We're hanging out. H2K just dominated in game 1, and we are excited to see what Unicorns of Love can show us as we move towards game 2. This could be a big moment for the Unicorns of Love. No, Karma coming in to save the day. Looks like he can still grab it into the flat. The heal from Nuclear. What is this team play? Chei, that was unbelievable.
Nice. That
Vizicsacsi wants a little bit more. At least one member is going to go down. There's the pool. There is the exhaust. Unicorns of Love. We're going to start a fight on their terms. Gnar dishing out a little bit of poke damage he can, but there's no burst. Odoamne down! Jankos trying to run as well. Momentum in the favor of Unicorns of Love. Hylissang thrown back into the fight. Exileh untouched! Unicorns of Love, a beautiful fight. After that game one, Unicorns of Love are turning it around. H2K hoping to hold on to the Nexus. They might actually be able to do it. Samux hitting it for free, but no! Unicorns of Love, they're taking us to a game 3.